Om Ajnanatimarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Bhagavad Gita as it is Ki Jai. Fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Transcendental Knowledge. This is the very important aspect of Bhagavad Gita for understanding how this knowledge was given by the Supreme Lord. He is the founder of religious principles, and he's always coming to give us this knowledge of self-awareness. The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivasvan, and Vivasvan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ishvaku. This supreme science was thus received to the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time the succession was broken, and therefore the science, as it is, appears to be lost. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you, because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. So this transcendental science, Krishna is describing that he's appearing again and again, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. Whenever there's a decline in religious practice and a predominant rise of irreligion, Krishna appears to reestablish religious principles. Krishna is telling Arjuna that he instructed this imperishable science to Vivasvan, the sun god. And Vivasvan, this was over 120 million years ago, and Vivasvan instructed to Manu, the father of mankind. Manu instructed his son Ishvaku, and this was over 2 million years ago. So this is the basic history. So 5,000 years ago, Krishna and Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Arjuna is bewildered, playing the part. Although Krishna is telling Arjuna that I've instructed this science to the Vivasvan, Arjuna was curious, how is it we're contemporaries and how you spoke this science so long ago? And Krishna explains that a Jopi son of Ayatma, that his appearance is transcendental. He doesn't grow old or change bodies like the individual living entities. We're changing from one body to another. Krishna has an eternal transcendental body. Krishna told Arjuna, you are also present. Matter of fact, whenever Krishna appears, Arjuna is his eternal associate, is always appearing with him. And this science of Bhagavad Gita, of the purpose and goal of human life, is being explained by Krishna because he is the founder of religious principles. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Svayam. He's the Supreme Lord. And Dharma, religion, is not some idea concocted by man. This is the knowledge given by God himself. And Arjuna is the recipient because he's the pure devotee. So Krishna is the original guru, and Arjuna is being given the same knowledge so that Vyasadeva can broadcast it to the whole world. So Arjuna said, the sun god Vivasvan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand? Then in the beginning you instructed this science to him. The personality of Godhead said, many, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. This is the nature of ignorance, forgetfulness. When we are put into the next body, we forget. We don't have that consistent knowledge, whereas Krishna is not like that. He says, although I am unborn, and my transcendental body never deteriorates, although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. The Lord is so kind that again and again he is coming to retrieve, bring his children back home, back to the spiritual kingdom. Whenever and wherever there's a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. So Krishna is very attentive. He's not forgotten us, created the whole material existence, all the planets, all the stars, all the universes, so that the conditioned souls can express their independent freedom, their different desires, their different experiences in life. But a human form of life is very rare, very important. So Krishna, taking advantage of the situation to re-establish religious principles, is speaking to Arjuna. To deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. So there's pious, there's devotees, and there's demons. Demons are those who are envious of God, who claim that there is no God and don't want to follow the laws of religion. But Krishna, he's establishing religious principles again and again because the time is changing. In Satya Yuga, there's a certain class of people in a certain atmosphere. So Krishna has to, again, deliver this supreme knowledge according to time, place, and circumstance. And 5,000 years ago, Kali Yuga was beginning, and the science was lost again, and people become confused as to what is the purpose and goal of life and how to achieve that goal. So Krishna further says, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So to know the transcendental nature of Krishna's appearance and activities, that means Krishna, he appears from Devaki and Vasudeva, goes to Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, has relationship with all the gopis and the gopas and mother and father, showing what it means to have friendly relationships, loving relationships, parental relationships, and the servitude. There are many varieties of relationships and love with Krishna, and he's showing by his personal example, by his appearance and all his various activities in Dwarka and the 16,000 palaces with the different queens performing different transcendental activities, and even showing how to do household life. He is getting his children married and performing yagyas, worshiping himself, or having relationship with his queen and or family members, but following religious principles very strictly, showing the example of how one can live in this world and abide by the Vedic principles of religion. So he personally is showing us. This is a very incredible opportunity to try to understand. It says here that being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. So here's the criterion that we need to get free from the attachments to this material sense gratification in this material world, and becoming free from fear and anger. Once one is fully dedicated and surrendered to Krishna, Krishna within his heart reveals this knowledge because of one's absorption and one's dedication to hearing about Krishna, chanting about Krishna. His whole life is dedicated. He has no fear because he knows Krishna is protecting at all times. And many persons in the past have attained this perfection. Although self-realization is difficult work, one has to see by the examples of our previous purified souls who have taken shelter of Krishna and achieved that perfection. So Krishna is stating, as all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. So all of us are individuals. We have individual desires and wants and needs. But some want to have sense gratification. They perform sacrifices and worship, sacrifice, give charitable food to institutions to help the poor in many ways. They want to do good work so they can ultimately go to heaven or have a happiness in this material world. There are also those who want to stop all the suffering in this world and take full shelter and surrender to Krishna. Krishna, in the heart of every being, is guiding all of us and give us an opportunity to serve Him and be with Him. So men in this world desire success and fruitive activities, therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world. The temporary nature of this world, Maya, the covering of the true consciousness and the true knowledge, because of lust, anger, greed, there are many desires. Men that have such desires, they worship demigods who are representatives of the Supreme Lord. But ultimately, Krishna is the ultimate recipient of all sacrifices and worship. And that will be told as Krishna is further instructed. According to the three modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. So Krishna is explaining that there are those in the mode of goodness, Brahmanas, mode of passion, Kshatriyas. The Brahminical class is important to give knowledge and understanding of the Vedic knowledge and the purpose of human life and how to awaken our God consciousness. Kshatriyas are leaders or kings who guide society so that they're properly engaged in their prescribed duties. Then Vaishyas, they have to provide for all of humanity in the form of agriculture, trade, cow protection. Shudras assist the other bodies. So this was created by Krishna so that while in this material world, while we are embodied according to the modes of nature which are affecting us, as long as we're engaged according to Krishna's directions, then we can also make advancement towards self-realization, towards cultivating transcendental knowledge, pure knowledge. And that knowledge will burn away all the ignorance which is covering the heart in the form of lust and illusion. That one will, with a transcendental heart and peaceful mind, make advancement in his spiritual life. Not that one is permanently a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, but as he's embodied, he can awaken his higher transcendental knowledge. There's no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in fruitive reactions of work. So everyone has to work in this world, whether one is a teacher, or one is an administrator, or one is farming, trade, or one is working in labor. Everyone has to perform work. But all work, if it's connected to the Supreme Lord, if it's meant as a sacrifice under the direction of the Vedic literature, if one is following, then one is not bound. There's no reactions. But otherwise, when we're acting in this world without the guidance and or instruction of the Vedic literature, there are reactions to all our work. As you sow, so you shall reap. We all have to bear the results of our activities and desires. All the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty, following in their footsteps. So Krishna is indicating that don't speculate, don't just use your own mental concoctions or just following some mundane teachers. We need to follow those who are actually liberated souls, the pure devotees. This is evam parampara praptam. This science is coming from Krishna to the great Rajarshis, great saintly kings. and they're giving this knowledge very carefully to the brahmanas who are disseminating this to, this from guru to disciple. It says, even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune. So Krishna, not just because one has a PhD or some scholarly rewards from a university, and the general mass of people may consider him intelligent in mundane activity, that he'll understand what is proper action, what is inaction. So everything is guided by the Lord, everything is guided by scripture, by which Krishna is giving this scripture in the form of his instruction. He is the original speaker of the Vedas, and the Vedas are knowledge which are guiding us so that we can enhance our intelligence to do the right thing. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. So again, the complications of living in this material world are difficult to understand. People without proper guidance are just acting pretty much like animals without any rules and regulations. So all this is being explained in Bhagavad Gita very systematically, very scientifically, and Krishna is explaining step by step to Arjuna how to act so that there's no reactions. Everything is done for Krishna. One who sees inaction in action, and action in inaction, is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. You see, people criticize, well, you devotees, you're also working and going out selling books, and you're cooking and you're cleaning. What's the difference? Difference is that yat karoshi yad shnasi yad jahosi didasi yat tapasyasi konte tad kurushvam madarpanam. Whatever work we do, whatever activities we perform, whatever sacrifice we do, is for the pleasure of Krishna. And that is the magic or the unique element that frees one from the obligation of the karmic reaction. Whereas when one acts on his own accord, there are reactions. One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. So again, this activity on behalf of Krishna and hearing about Krishna from Bhagavad Gita, also Srimad Bhagavatam, the pastimes of Krishna, why he appears, how he appears, his beauty, his interaction, loving exchanges with his devotees. This is knowledge, and this knowledge burns away that lust which has covered the heart and the misunderstanding as to what is the purpose of my life. So that sacrifice will help one to have clarity of understanding. Abandoning all attachment to the results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. Krishna is protecting and guiding us, so the reactions are not there. Just on the war field, when the soldier, although he may kill so many other of the enemy soldiers, he's given a medal or awarded some credit for helping the country. But if he kills somebody on his own when he comes back, then he is a criminal, put in jail. So Krishna is protecting us for all our activities, and he's sanctifying, because ultimately Krishna will give us protection. Sarva dharman parityajam mamekang sharanang vrajang. By surrendering to Krishna, working for Krishna, always thinking about and chanting Krishna's holy name, one knowledge becomes transcendental to the point of burning away all the sinful activities. He who is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord, and who is free from duality and does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is never entangled, although performing actions. We can see by Srila Prabhupada's personal behavior, even though he tried so much to spread Krishna consciousness in India, and all day distributing Back to Godhead magazines and various leaflets to help people understand the purpose and goal of life. Still, he maintained his steady enthusiasm, knowing that his service was for Krishna. And it wasn't for his own sense gratification. And he was satisfied in that way. The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to obtain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. So by this endeavor, regularly hearing, chanting, working, serving for Krishna, you're guaranteed to attain the spiritual kingdom. This is Krishna's words. He'll protect you. He'll guide us. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some of them offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. There are different systems of yoga, meditation, mysticism, but by bhakti-yoga, is given to us by Krishna through Srila Prabhupada, you achieve the highest perfection very quickly. Some, the unadulterated brahmacharis, sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, and others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. So, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas, this system was also given by Krishna, that one is trained from the very beginning how to control the mind, control the senses, and the importance of cultivating spiritual transcendental knowledge. But also, because we have material body, material senses, that one can get married according to religious principles with wife. He can follow the rules and regulations in family life, and also cultivate this higher understanding so that the fire of transcendental knowledge will burn away all the different activities which are being performed. Others who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of the mind and senses offer the functions of all the senses and of the life breath as oblations into the fire of the controlled mind. So this is controlling the mind. This is the real yoga system, controlling the mind, controlling the senses. But you are helped by Krishna. Controlling the mind means that you don't want to waste a moment without hearing about Krishna. You don't want to waste your time without chanting Krishna's holy name. The Shukadeva Goswami was praising Parikshit Maharaj that, you're hearing these pastimes as ever fresh, newer and newer and fresher. So this is a symptom of one's becoming healthy, that he can again experience the pleasure of serving Krishna. Having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions, and others by performing severe austerities, by practicing the yoga of eightfold mysticism, or by studying the Vedas to advance in transcendental knowledge. So for us, the austerities is no intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating, no illicit sex. In this age, even great intelligent people think that's impossible. But by Prabhupada's formula, by this regulation of bhakti and serving the deities, rising early in the association of devotees, chanting the holy name, hearing about Krishna, gives one strength and clarity how one can follow this austere vows and gain success. Still others who are inclined to the process of breath restraint to remain in trance, practice by offering the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Others, curtailing the eating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. So different times, different prescribed ways of self-realization are recommended, and some are inclined towards the hatha yoga and the breathing, controlling the breathing. And all these are very good for controlling the mind and controlling the senses. But this is further being explained. All these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions, and having tasted nectar, the results of sacrifices, they advance towards the supreme eternal atmosphere. So it doesn't matter what religion or what performance of yoga or meditation one performs, as long as it's authorized by the scripture. But then we have to see the results, that one is actually is tasting the higher pleasures of being connected to Krishna and serving Krishna. O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice, one can never live happily on this planet or in this life, what to speak of the next. All these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. So these are different processes for different persons. Krishna says, Yeyatamang prapajate tang sataiva bhajamyaham. As we surrender to Krishna, Krishna rewards us accordingly. And there are so many varieties, just like there are so many varieties of life. O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Pritha, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. So this is the goal of our sacrifices, austerities, and everything, is to awaken the transcendental knowledge and understanding of Krishna and what is the purpose of his appearance. So here, this is one of the most important verses. The Tadvidi pranipate na pariprashnena sevaye upadekshanti te jnanam jnanas tattva darshana. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. So Krishna is giving so many instructions, so many varieties and choices in life. But ultimately, he's instructing that we surrender to the Guru, his representative, because Krishna is the Guru in the form of Paramatma in the heart, and the external Guru, Srila Prabhupada, in the form of his Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion, for by this knowledge you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, that they are mine. So again, he's reinforcing that to get real knowledge, you need to approach a self-realized soul and surrender with submission, devotion, inquiry. The success of life is to please your spiritual master, and he'll give this knowledge to you because he has seen the truth. Even if you're concerned, even if you're considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. None of us feel qualified, that, I have so many desires and so many bad qualities. But Krishna is saying, even if you're considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you're situated in this boat of transcendental knowledge, you'll be able to cross the ocean by the mercy of Krishna and Guru. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. So like when, if you ever done campfires, you see the fires blazing in the wood, and then when the fire is finished, it's just ash. Everything is gone. So this knowledge of inquiring from the spiritual master, hearing from the spiritual master about Krishna, about controlling the mind, controlling the senses, and how to behave so that we can not get entangled and awaken this knowledge, that knowledge will burn away all our material desires to ashes. All the reactions will be gone. In this world, there's nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism. And one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. So it's a gradual process. Stay steady and every day hearing, chanting, and there's nothing as pleasurable. Raja Vijja Raja Goyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Prakyashavam Gunam Dharmyam Shushukam Kartumaviyam. Pure, transcendental, the perfection of religion, everlasting, joyfully performed. This is the nature of transcendental knowledge, and as it'll mature, the more and more we follow the principles, stay humble, surrender to Guru, and the more we hear and chant, then in due course of time, go back home, back to Godhead by Krishna's instructions. A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains a supreme spiritual peace. So faith is one of the most important, Shraddha. By faith and by association with those who are advanced in spiritual understanding, then everything is revealed and grows. But ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fall down. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. So we can avoid that, because if we're hearing with a submissive, humble attitude, the more and more we hear, the more this knowledge, jnana vairagya, will manifest itself. Because with knowledge, natural renunciation comes. And that renunciation means renouncing the idea that I can enjoy in this material world. One who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his actions, and whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge, is situated factually in the self. Thus, he is not bound by the reactions of work, O conqueror of riches. Therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga, O Bharat, stand and fight. So this is the essence, that Krishna is speaking this knowledge, and this knowledge is coming down since time immemorial. We can also get this knowledge by surrendering to Guru. Spiritual master will help us to control the mind, control the senses, perform the proper activities and actions in our lives, so that we'll gain further knowledge to burn away all our reactions. And then at the very end, we can always think of Krishna. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mang namaskuru mame vasasi sachante pratijani priyosame. Think of Krishna, become his devotee, surrender to Krishna. And Krishna ultimately says, again, Sarva dharman parityaja mamekang sharanang vraja ahang tvang sarvapapebhyo mokshayashyami masuchaha. Surrender unto me, give up all varieties of religion, I will give you full protection. Krishna's promising, because you become a friend of Krishna. Krishna loves everyone, but one who follows the Guru, follows Krishna, Krishna will give guidance and protection and bring us back home, back to Godhead with transcendental knowledge. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. Hare Krishna.